Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are watching this special episodes of LinkedIn Live coming to you. I'm from India, and my dear friend is sitting in Gippsland, which is in Victoria, Melbourne. Um, we are trying to do this. Started on Monday that we spoke about dealing with uncertainty, and on Tuesday, we spoke about networking during these challenging times. Yesterday, we had an amazing, LinkedIn Live where we had people who are at the very sort of cold face to the employers, and what are the employers telling them about the opportunities and about how a job seeker should be doing right now. There's an amazing episode, on that. And today we are going to talk about something different. But our intention, mine and Caroline's intention, is that we continue to bring, ideas, insights, and inspirations to all the job seekers during these tough and challenging times. Mind
Yep.
you, me and Caroline also have not experienced these kind of times before, and so we don't come with a sort of position that we know everything. We interact and we discuss and we take offline comments from people about what they want to listen and what they want to talk about. So since LinkedIn Live doesn't, this particular platform that I use doesn't allow me to see the comments on live. What I suggest is if you got questions for me and Caroline during this, LinkedIn Live, please send me, a direct message on LinkedIn, and I'll make sure that I cover that as part of the LinkedIn Live. So, Caroline, before welcome back again. How's the
Thanks
weather
for
up
having
there?
me. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a very gentle, warm day with a lovely breeze and
Hmm.
sun. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really. I'm very lucky to be in a very peaceful part of the world. So
Yeah.
just a couple of things that I wanted to say from yesterday in particular,
Yeah.
around like positivity or just
Mm,
how important it is to remain connected and to talk to people, because I found with the
mm,
guys that we spoke to yesterday
yeah.
that I came away with a renewed sense of optimism,
Mm,
listening to their perspectives around what's
mm,
happening, because
yeah.
one was an IT recruiter and one was a
Yeah.
graduate program, saying that
Yeah.
those things are still continuing and that
Yeah.
they're available. So with this, it is that, like, what Nashad and I are doing is, Nashad's in India, I'm in Gippsland. You can connect with anyone around the world.
Absolutely.
It's a fantastic thing to keep your options open and your mindset positive, I think. So yeah, that's what's happening in
Excellent.
sunny Gippsland. That's how
That's
I
really
felt
good.
after
That's
chatting to the guys
absolutely
yesterday.
fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. It's I'm in Ahmedabad, which is the western part of India, and it's cloudy right now, which is very different at this time of the year. But I think we will carry along, and obviously today we are going to talk about a very different topic. It's probably not talked about as much in the open discussions as it should. But you know, if you want to achieve anything, if you want to lose weight, I'll probably go back to that example of losing weight because I started gym probably a couple of months before my travel to India, hoping that I will lose weight, and then in India I will eat as much as I want, gain weight, and come back a bit
That
more.
just defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
And it actually defeated the whole purpose because I'm here. I've not eaten much,
Mm.
and I've actually shedded few kilos, which is very different for somebody who's visiting India. But that's separate. My point is that if you have a goal of losing weight, or running a marathon of anything, one of the most important thing into that is obviously you've got a vision, you've got a drive in order to achieve that. But without really detailing the plan, or without actually putting the plan on paper, it's not going to work as effectively as it should. Otherwise, it's just random actions that we take, and those random actions come together, and we produce that outcome. And we believe that maybe this is the right way to do that. But looking for job is a bit different, because there are many moving pieces, when you're looking for work. So that's the thing that we are attacking or discussing, today around planning. So, Kailan, how, why it is so critical to have a real written plan? I'm not talking about a plan in your head, but
Yeah.
like a written plan of
Yeah.
action.
Yeah. I think it's good to have, well, you want to be able to, I guess, focus your energies in the right area, because
Mm.
if you sort of go scattergun with this, you can be wasting a lot of time, and that's probably
Yeah.
the last thing that you want to do. But the act of putting, one of my clients had this great quote the other day. It was like
Hmm.
Napoleon talking to his tailor, and it was like, dress me slowly so I can go quickly into battle. So the plan is like something that you spend some quality time reflecting
Yeah.
on, because that's going to steer you in the right
Mm.
direction. And I tend to use with my clients, especially the ones in straight to shortlist, we develop what I call a job search compass. So
Mm.
it's just a thing that guides you around where you're actually going to
Mm.
focus your efforts. But the
Yeah.
act actually builds up your confidence, because
Mm.
you're starting from a place where you know you. And I know you've got a version of mine, but
Yeah.
dig into that a little bit later on. But it
Sure.
really does give you direction and confidence in yourself, and when you're talking to
Mm.
people as well, and the types of roles that you should be approaching or focusing on.
I agree, and planning is very, very important. So let's talk about some of the important components of a plan. So, as I also shared my kind of a template that I have recently created. I've not implemented it as yet, because there are still a couple of things that I'm working through. But what are the things that if you look at building a plan, what are the things that one should look at? So let's start from the very scratch of these things. So if I take a piece of paper, and if I start to write down the plan, what is the first thing that I should be doing?
Well, what's worked with my clients and
Yeah.
myself is start off with a blank sheet of paper.
Mm.
And I mean, I go through a structured approach, but
Sure.
I get people to go from really the known, and then they can extend that into the unknown. So I get
Okay.
people to, first of all, do a brain dump of about between 5 to 10 business problems that they've solved, which tend to be
Mm.
what people might say are
Mm.
their
Mm.
achievements.
Yeah.
So, and using the STAR approach, essentially. So,
Mm.
what was the scenario? Why was that problem created? What actions did you take? And what impact did you have? And what was the value of that impact to the organization? So I get people to do 5 to 10 of those, which really gets them
Mm.
thinking in terms of being a business problem solver.
Yeah.
It helps people identify the skills that they have, and it helps people identify the types of organizations they might want to target, and their value propositions and their achievements.
Yeah.
5 to 10 questions to start, 5 to 10 examples
Yeah.
of problems that you've solved, writing them out on paper, because that will actually, you go broad, and then
Yeah.
you basically narrow down. And then what
Yeah.
I get people to do, this is kind of like the pre-work before the plan,
Yeah.
you sit there and think about, answer the questions of what they really enjoy,
Yeah.
what their motivations are to do a good job, and what
Mm.
strengths are they applying when they've done their best work. And they're the questions that then start to form the basis of a plan. And it's one of those things where, you sit there with a glass of wine, a cup of coffee, a beer, or whatever, and or go for a walk, and do it quietly, but just make sure you get it all out onto the table, because that, again, really does start to build your confidence and becomes the basis of the plan. So I don't know,
Yeah.
what do you do with your clients?
Yeah,
Richard?
so I think I do ask my clients in the first session itself to do an exercise. Take a butcher paper out, and what I want you to write is 10 accomplishment stories,
Mm,
and so I want you to focus on five personal stories and five professional stories. I don't mean personal stories by you helping somebody cross the road, not accomplishment like that. But you planning your cousin's wedding could be a personal accomplishment because
mm,
it involves a lot of skills that you have developed over a period of time. You running a marathon could be a personal accomplishment, and then you look at professional accomplishments.
mm,
And the reason why I choose to also include personal accomplishments, because as we know, we don't, you and I don't stop being, using our skills, after 5 o'clock. We don't say, oh, I don't know project management now because I stopped working at 5. I am, so you still use those skills, right? And I want you to see you as a whole, holistic, person rather than just looking at yourself, from professional prism. So that's one of the thing I think we are on the same page
mm.
around, around that.
I
But
think
one
that's a
one other
great
thing
idea.
that I then, yeah, mm,
I was just going to say that that personal thing,
yeah,
often you're fully expressing everything you can bring to the table, everything you want to do
yeah,
if you
yeah,
just focus on work. And the personal stuff is the stuff that probably teases out more of what you enjoy in a way. So, yeah,
yeah,
sorry that interrupted you, but yeah,
yeah.
that I think that's a
No,
great
that's
idea.
fine. At the same time, Kiran, what I've also understood, in these many years of experience is that it's that the personal touch that you have, uh,
Mm,
helps you to stand out in the marketplace, anyway, because rather than people are also not just looking at you professionally, they are also looking at your personal skills and how you've applied those skills in your personal life. So you don't have to feel, kind of, what do we say, limited to think about your professional stuff when you are
mm,
designing a plan,
yeah,
because the lines between professional and personal is often blurred, and
it's very
in these
blurred.
circumstances, it's actually it doesn't exist now,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all.
And I think also, those questions about what you really enjoy
Mm,
and what your motivations are and what your values are, they help you find the right organization as well that's a
yeah,
fit for you, which is one half of the plan.
yeah,
um, I get people to, and I'll go into this a bit later, but I get people to divide up a page. But the thing
yeah,
is that when you talk about things that you love, when your
mm,
face lights up, when you can,
mm,
explain and you're excited about it, people
mm,
get excited with
absolutely,
you and they get caught up in that, and they're hiring you for that same level of excitement and
exactly,
cultural fit. So,
exactly,
you know, I've in my business from time to time hired people that have just really wanted to work with me because of
exactly,
had that attitude, and so
yeah,
that those questions, that don't neglect them, they're equally as important because they help you be genuine and sincere about what what you're approaching basically.
absolutely, absolutely. And so then let's take the next step. So another thing that I ask you to ask, all my clients to do is to write their employment goal with
Hmm.
as much clarity as they can. And a lot of, so one employment goal could be that I want to be a business analyst, or I want to, a civil engineer, or an estimator, for example, right? But I prefer you to be even more, little bit more specific than that. So I want to be a business analyst working in financial institutions. I want to work, business analysts who want to work in, I don't know, telecommunications, for example. So I know it sounds very counterintuitive. Not many people, agree because you don't want to be boxed into just one, kind of a role. But if you think about from a view of business, and you thinking like an entrepreneur, you got to have a clarity on that goal, because the clearer you are, the resume will be much more clearer in terms of
Mm,
intention, and your network will be much more clearer in terms of
mm,
intention. If I
yeah.
can just give a quick example, and then take your idea on this, Caroline, is that a lot of people, when they approach me or they approach someone else, they just say, I need a job. And
Mhm,
the next question is usually, what kind of job?
mm,
Well, I'm a project manager. I've done this and that and this and that, and I can do anything. But the
mm,
moment you say I can do anything, you've lost me, or you've lost many other people. Because
yeah.
if I send my resume to Caroline, and the resume, it says, Caroline, hey, Naishad asked me to reach out to you. This is my resume. If you can help me,
Mm,
that is not enough communication, because Caroline then needs to know what kind of work you're looking at,
yeah.
because that will determine whether Caroline can really help you or not. But what
Mm,
happens when you just say that I'm looking for anything or not being specific, Caroline can either help you, or she will say, you know what, I received this kind of resumes, hundreds. I'll just make you happy, and I'll say I'll look for something for you, but I will never act on that, because
yeah.
you have not clarity. What are your thoughts on having a clarity about it?
I think it's absolutely crystal clear. Not crystal clear. I think it's absolutely important to do that, to have that clarity, because it's like that marketing saying:
Mm,
if you want to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. It's
mm,
around you have believability if you understand how your skills can benefit that particular organization. So that's the clarity that you get from actually having a plan.
yeah.
Um, what I get people to do is identify like the right hand part of that page on my
Mm,
value compass is organizations that you can target and
mm,
business problems you can solve for that
mm,
organization.
mm,
So
mm,
you're not necessarily saying that you're a business analyst. You might be saying, I can help, like I can work for, say, a large health organization. Might be the organization that I'll target, and I can help them
mm,
solve these problems with my business
mm,
analysis type skills, or my
mm, mm,
project
mm,
project
mm,
type skills. So you kind of identifying the organizations, the types of business problems they might have, and how
mm,
you can add value with the specific set of skills that
mm,
you have. And often, that approach helps people actually, when they're networking,
mm,
bring those things into the conversation
mm,
as it's
mm.
appropriate,
Yeah,
basically. So
yeah, yeah. Agree. And also, I think writing makes things more clearer in your
yeah.
head, because I'm pretty sure that you have had this experience, writing resumes. In my head, I'm very clear on how do I want this client to look on the paper, but when I'm writing it, right, then I say, oh, it doesn't make sense. Now it doesn't make
Mm,
sense. How to change this? How to change it? So that also happens. So when you write things, it will actually force you to think much deeper, and
yeah.
I think you naturally think deeper and different perspective that you can bring when
Yeah.
you're writing things about those things. One other thing that I also wanted to emphasize is what you said about what problems do you solve. I
Mm,
think most of us do not have the grapple about the problems we solve.
yeah.
uh, we don't know what real problems do we solve. Like, for example, I give this classic example, and I ask that, what problems do you think a receptionist or somebody who sits on the reception solves for
Hmm.
companies?
Yeah.
And my answer is that it solves the problem of productivity,
Yeah.
because what the reception does is to screen the calls, to make
Hmm.
sure that the people who sit at the background in the offices have got
Yep.
maximum time to do the things
Yep.
that they have to be doing. So that's
Yep.
that's the problem that the reception solves. Now, if the reception is aware of it, then he or she can pitch like this way to the
Yeah.
employer, which will be
Yeah.
more appealing because the employer says, hang on, this is like how a business would think.
There's
And
absolutely a
similarly,
huge difference
yeah,
between saying I'm a receptionist versus saying
yeah,
I'm a receptionist, and one of the things I really enjoy is helping the business run more efficiently by being able to steer those calls in the right direction and present at the front face of the organisation and represent it professionally. And that's what, I mean, we can speak, I know that you and I, we tend to speak very generally a lot of the time
yeah,
about the value, but that's a fantastic example of
yeah,
going,
yeah,
what's the impact that I can have on an
yeah,
organisation? It's not just a receptionist, it's like, I'd love to be able to, having a networking conversation or
yeah,
even, pitching yourself for a job.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to be able to help you with that because I know that, I can free up your time doing this.
Exactly,
And then
exactly, and
because
that's
you've
very
taken
important.
it from a skill to
Yeah,
what does it mean to the other person,
mm,
basically, or that
yeah,
business? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's very important. So that's another thing that I want. I ask the clients, right? Is that what problems do you solve? And I
Mm,
want you to think really deeply about it. The first answer is always a wrong answer in this one
mm,
because the first answer would be I solve, you know, I find bugs into the software, but that's not the
mm,
problem you solve. The
mm,
problem you really solve is that you produce an error-free product so that it
mm,
increases client satisfaction and you get more orders and things like that,
mm,
which is the business impact that we are talking about, and that's
mm.
one another piece of thing that I want the clients to really be more clearer on that. Another thing that a lot of us, and which you partially touched on, that is that why do you think you are a great fit for the role, right?
Oh, is that yes?
Because you have to
Yeah.
justify, right? Because
Yeah.
lot of the time, a lot of questions around in the interviews are based around why do you
Why do
think you are a
Yeah.
great fit for the role, right?
Yeah.
And you've got
Yeah.
to come up with a real,
A
sensible,
really meaningful, yeah. So
responses,
it's
right?
not just about, well, I'm a great team player and I'm good with people and da 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 da
Yeah,
da. It's, well, I've worked in organisations that have undergone similar challenges to what you've
mm,
done, and that's where I've
mm,
found that I really thrive on, delivering to A, B, and C
yeah,
in that environment. That's why I'm a great fit. Or I
yeah,
know this about your organisation,
mm,
and I've always loved doing that in that kind of environment. So you're being
yeah,
quite specific
yeah.
around the fit because you're showing that you've done your research, and you're just not making a laundry list of claims that everybody makes, basically.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And another thing that I want to sort of add to that is that that's the time for you to really tell stories or
Yeah.
write stories. In fact, why am I great fit? So you could be great fit from cultural point of view and even from technical point of view. But you got to justify that, and writing this makes it more clearer that this is why you are a great fit, for that particular role that we are talking about. Another,
Can I just kind of
yes,
jump you back to the writing down
mm,
bit
mm,
about a couple of things around that?
mm,
When you write things down, you start to believe them. That's a really, like,
mm,
it's a mechanical type thing that helps it
mm,
kind of embed in your brain. But also, the act of writing brings up more ideas. So
mm,
it's kind of like it's a confidence, it's like opening up the creative pot, but
mm,
it's also a
mm.
confidence repetition
Yeah,
um, building exercise as well. So yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say,
yeah,
we
absolutely.
write it down because you will easily and quickly forget it. And the other reason around writing it down is that I know people that have taken the value proposition statements that we've developed
Yeah,
in networking, and they've left them with the organization, or left them with the person.
yeah,
So it's a thing that you can present, but also, you have it there as a reminder, because when you're
yeah,
looking for a job, the
mm,
thing that absolutely gets the guaranteed thing is you're going to get
yeah,
knockbacks. It's going to put a
yeah,
dent in your confidence, and it's very, very easy to fall into victim mode.
mm,
So you've got to
mm,
do whatever it takes
yeah,
to keep reinforcing
Yeah.
what you can do and what you have
Yeah.
done to keep your confidence up. So that, just wanted to pick up on that because I think it was
Absolutely.
really important.
Absolutely. And the next step is is a step which which I think which is equally important, is around identifying barriers to to getting those kind of jobs. Because I worked many years back in employment agencies, and we used to develop employment pathway plans for job seekers. And the employment pathway plan involved what's the employment goal for this person, what are the activities that we are putting in place for this person. But there was also a section which talked about barriers to employment, and it was quite quite sort of in your face thing.
Yeah.
And it was good in a way that I'm not assuming that this person can do this kind of work.
Mm.
I have to ask those questions. And we consider barriers in two aspects, Caroline. One is a vocational barrier, and
Hmm.
another is a non-vocational barrier. And we all, these are the only two barriers that we can fit the whole thing in. So also the job seekers should be able to do that. There's what's the vocational barrier? Let's say that if you want to work as a business analyst, and in banking industry, and then you scour through all the jobs and everything else, and you find out a particular software that most of them are looking for, or a particular skill set that most of them are looking for. Well, write that down, because that could be a barrier to finding that kind of work, or that could be a barrier to being shortlisted for that. And so vocational barriers is something that sort of doesn't allow you, like a license or compliance or software, or qualification or any of those things. And secondly is non-vocational barriers. They're
Mm.
talking about whether do you have, effective communication, listening skills, or whether you have presentation skills, or whether you have the etiquettes required, or all those other things, soft skills or essential skills that we talk about. What are
Mm.
your thoughts on really identifying, those barriers?
I think there's lots of good reasons to do it. One is, you want to know what they are, and B, you can fix those. It's interesting, but it's also a little bit of a networking tool, to be honest. So I often get people who want to change careers or want to change sectors to reach out to people on LinkedIn and ask their advice about what it takes. So one of those things could be, say you're an accountant, you don't have your CPA,
Yeah.
is, talking to people about, how important a CP, like, could you give me some advice on how important this is, or could you give me some
Yeah.
advice on how to get around this? That's you've identified a barrier, and it's a great networking tool to uncover whether that's actually a true barrier. The other thing about barriers is often they're very invisible to ourselves. In fact, probably 99% of the time, we
Absolutely.
don't know that what we do makes us our own worst enemy. So I think, if you're not getting a job and you really believe that you're skilled and qualified and got the right experience and you can do that job, and you're getting, knockback after knockback, there's something going on that people aren't telling you about, and that's an invisible barrier. And it requires, got to have that conversation with some people that you trust to get that bad news. Because I've seen that time and time again with people. Something that they're doing, or the way that they're interacting, or something that they don't have, is actually getting in their way. So, and it even may be, the way that you've viewed your career to date, is a barrier, in that it's just been a job. You haven't invested in it in moving forward. So it's you can see some of them, but some of our ones we're really blind to.
Yeah, true. La blind spots.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah. And you might have to go. I think those informational interviews that we touched upon on Tuesday is a very important way for you to find out what vocational and non-vocational gap that might exist, which doesn't allow you to really pursue the career or the job that you're looking for.
Well, it's a great question to ask people.
Yeah.
I'd love to find out more about what you
Yeah.
do and how you got
Yeah.
into this,
Yeah.
and what do you see as the critical things, and where should I go and get this qualification, or should I go and acquire this skill? Again, you're getting great information, but you're building a relationship as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. In the last piece of thing that I've included into this sort of one-page marketing plan is the target industry in the list of the employers, because it's great to it's great to have done everything, but then you have not even identified 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 100 employers, to be able to go and talk to these employers.
Yeah.
So if I can ask you this question around how do you really identify, these employers? What are some of your, hacks on identifying, the right employers?
Well, I think if you look at, if you start with identifying the business problems that you've solved, and that STAR approach of those questions, what was the scenario? What was the action you took? What was the outcome? Yep. Take a step before that and go, what led to this problem in the business? Was the business rapidly scaling? Was the market disrupting? Were there new competitors coming in? Because that can actually then, you can have a list of 25 employers, right, or 25 companies, but not all those 25 companies are actually the right company for you to target with your set of skills. So you might be somebody that, really is great in fast-growing businesses because you know how to sort of create order out of a bit of chaos. Or you might be somebody that's great at sort of working in a large enterprise. So in terms of that list, narrow it down to, or prioritize it according to which of those organizations is going through a phase or has that same set of challenges as where you've actually been able to deliver results, because that will help you hone in on and focus on that. So that would be, that's why that pre-work is really important, because you'll find that there's probably, if you scan back through your career, you'll find that there might be a lot more people that you can target, and a lot more value, a lot more things that you can actually do than what you've just most recently done. And it also, it helps you in that kind of networking approach to finding a job, because then you can go and target specific employers and, reach out to them and pitch to them directly, basically. But I really think it is thinking more deeply, not just about what you've done, but why that problems are being created and what other organizations are likely to be in that same cycle and have that same set of problems coming up.
Another exercise that when people say to me that, Nishit, I don't know, I can only find 10, 20, 30 companies. So what I do is that if the person is a mechanical design engineer, I would put that on LinkedIn, filter that down to the city, and start to look at all the mechanical design engineers, and then start to look at, do you see where this person worked? Did you see this person, where did he or she worked? And they'll start to absolutely amazed that there are so many other companies that they don't even know, because because you do not have the access to those databases, and that's the simplest way for you to make a huge leap. You can actually grow from 10 to 100 in one day.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just the worst advice you can get about job seeking is from the person that's sitting next to you about what options are available to you. And, you know, we're doing LinkedIn Live, and LinkedIn tells you where people have gone, you know, where people have come from in their careers. So I have a person that I'm working with at the moment, and, you know, when we first started working together, she's a teacher, and she's like, teachers, you know, really believe that teachers don't change their careers, but it's like, well, let's just look at what you'd like to do, and or let's just put teaching in LinkedIn, and a couple of things that you think that you might be able to do. I think we found about 50 people that are doing amazing things that used to be teachers.
Yeah.
You know, and discovering what it is that is their interim move, and then their next move. So
Absolutely.
LinkedIn is just, you know, people often say, well, you know, nurses or teachers or whoever don't change their career, but you can guarantee. I mean, it's just a complete falsehood, because you know, everybody changes their career, and now you know about it because it's all mostly online, where people have updated their LinkedIn profiles. So
and then you can actually go to those people and say, hey, look, you know, Mary, I want to find out, you've been a teacher for 15 years and now you work as in HR. You know, I can see that you did a you know, a degree, you know, diploma in HR. But I just wanted to find out from you that how did you make that transition? What preparation did you do and everything else? And there you go. Then, you know, those gold nuggets, you know, are the information that you need to not only prepare you or to, you know, but also to think laterally and think deeply. Oh wow, this is also another way to, you know, to really change career or change, you know, do something more meaningful.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's one way. Another thing, last thing that I, you know, usually ask, or you will ask now because I'm still preparing the plan, is that then you make the list of the people who can really help you.
Yeah.
You know, who are the key people, key connectors, key stakeholders, you know, people who you think that are critical to your success, to finding that kind of work. Just write those, you know, names down, because then you can strategically start to approach them. If you've got 10 people, then you know, wow, these 10 people can really help me. Now let me think, how do I want to approach them? I don't want to really damage anything, but how do I then approach these people?
Yeah. Is that
What are your thoughts?
I think that, absolutely perfect thing is to make that list of people and be able to, you know, who might introduce me, or who looks really interesting, and reach out and connect with them. Perfect way of basically planting the seed. The thing about doing all of this, though, is, and again, I've noticed it with my clients and myself, is that you can talk yourself out of things like this extremely easily. So, you know, you can get to the point of, well, why would that person say yes to me? That's a bit of the mind games that go on with yourself. So sometimes when you're doing that kind of activity, part of your plan could be, I'm just going to do this for 15 minutes a day and reach out to 5 people, every day, and make a habit of it, knowing that, you know, those invisible barriers or those confidence barriers or those things will always inevitably, you know, or that belief system will stop you doing it, basically.
Absolutely. All right. Any other parting thoughts on what to include in the plan? You know, what you can, what you should be including in the plan.
I think we've covered it. So I guess, you know, we've sort of covered it in different ways, but one part is, you know, yourself, who you are, what your strengths, what your values are, what your motivations are, what you enjoy doing, because that, you know, that helps you engage with others and be very engaging and find the right cultural fit for yourself. And then the other half of the plan is the practical, you know, the list of employers, the value that you can add to those employers, the skills that you have, and then use that as And you've also got, invisible barriers to overcome, and
Yeah.
a couple of things that you mentioned, but use that as your
Yeah.
guide.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Excellent. So as before the LinkedIn Live, I said that we intend to do LinkedIn Live until I'm in lockdown, which will be another 19, 20 days. So you'll be seeing this pretty face, hopefully Monday to Friday.
We'll be seeing you
You know,
gradually grow a beard, Nashad, or we'll end up with hair out to here because we can't
yeah,
go to the hairdresser, and yeah,
yeah.
it'll be
So yeah, we'll look. We're trying to bring you different topics to the forefront. Tomorrow we'll be talking another topic. We'll still be coming to you live 3 p.m. Melbourne time, 9:30 a.m. Indian time, and we'll be bringing a new guest. And if as I said previously, if you want me or Caroline to talk about specific topics, which is what you think is important to you, or your friends and your community out there, please reach out to me. Let me know. We in Caroline will find the best guest to talk about those things, and bring you new perspective on things. As this LinkedIn Live, this is more like a conversation style LinkedIn Live. We don't aim to achieve anything but provide you real valuable guidance and support in these trying and unprecedented times. So I'll see you again tomorrow, everyone.
yeah,
3 p.m. Melbourne time. Thank you, Caroline, for joining us again. I look
absolute
forward
pleasure.
to have a chat tomorrow.
Yeah. See you next time, and stay
Yeah.
safe and well. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.